what's going on, everybody? EnteR ChatZ MaN here, and I woke up early this morning to watch a show that just came out, or at least a few episodes that just came out. If you don't know, as of this morning, the Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, just released its episodes 1 and 2. So I know this has kind of been something that a lot of people, at least similar like me, who are into a lot of the Tolkien stuff, it's something a lot of people have been eagerly anticipating. At least I have. I guess for kind of my backdrop for Lord of the Rings is I did just say I am a Tolkien fan, but I would say more particularly I am a huge fan of the Peter Jackson trilogy, of course, that he made in the early 2000s. I would say for me, the original 3 movies, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship, The Two Towers, and the Return of the King, I almost forgot the name. Those 3 movies, for me, I might say is my favorite movie trilogy of all time. I would definitely, I love Star Wars as much as any other nerd out there, but I would say for me, Lord of the Rings, I like more. And I even love the Harry Potter series, but I would say Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy, is my favorite, probably, like, movie series of all time. Needless to say, I was super interested in this, but I will just to put it out there, I will say I'm not like super in tune with a lot of the deep lore of the Lord of the Rings. Like I've read the original Fellowship and I've read the Two Towers. I never read like the Silmarillion. I never got to read the Hobbit. Which, speaking of, I know a lot of people kind of throw dirt and hate on the Hobbit trilogy, Peter Jackson's. I, for one, actually like those movies. I don't hate them. I don't think they're great either. I think a big problem with those movies was that they're, obviously, a lot of people have talked about it, but the stretching it into a 3-movie series, in my opinion, kind of was a bad idea. I feel like he could have maybe have gotten away with 2, but definitely making those 3, that series definitely feels bloated. And it definitely feels like some of the humor isn't quite as good as the original. I'm not saying that the first 3 had like fantastic humor, but I don't know. I think it's very different if you compare it to the original Lord of the Rings series, because that series was so grand, so big. There was so much happening, and really, in my opinion, what's happening in The Hobbit is on a much smaller scale compared to that. So it just kind of, it feels dwarfed by its predecessor trilogy, you know? And that can be good and can be bad. I mean, it was kind of more interesting to see like a shorter story, a much smaller story in terms of scale. But I don't know, like, as someone who in the past had also watched the I can't remember the 1970s animated Hobbit series, the movie, I mean, I can't remember who was Rankin Bass. Oh, just hit me. The original Rankin Bass, like, if you go back and watch that, yeah, it's a bit corny, and it's corny, and I mean, I still like it, but that movie is, what, maybe 75 minutes long, and it squeezes in that entire Hobbit story into, like, one movie, one tight, like, experience, and I feel like Peter Jackson didn't necessarily need to do that, but if he would have turned that into like a 2-movie series, I would have been part. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent here. I like Lord of the Rings, and more particularly the 3 movies. So yes, I was excited for this TV series, or Amazon series. If you're wondering why I'm not covering this show in form of talking about it on my podcast, the EnteR ChatZ MaN Podcast, with my buddy Phoenix, that's because my buddy Phoenix is, needless to say, he's not that big of a Tolkien Lord of the Rings fan. I am the one on the show that is the Lord of the Rings fan. So he's also was out of town this weekend, and I had already known he wasn't really interested in the show. So I definitely wanted to cover it piece by piece, or at least episode by episode, on my channel, however I could. So I figured, why not? Let's just one-on-one, mano a mano with you guys, and let you know what I thought about it. So, how much did I like the show? Is it great? I would just say right off the bat, for me, I very much enjoy. I'm not going to talk about episodes 1 and 2 here. I'll just talk about 1. But at least for me, episode numero uno, I found myself very much enjoying it. It's not It's not fantastic. It definitely so far isn't like Lord of the Rings level. It's better than The Hobbit, but there are aspects of it that I found myself very much enjoying. I think right off the bat, I would say they got a lot of the acting. Like, the acting is fine. The acting is good. For me, the environments, the overall set design, the CGI is absolutely beautiful. You can totally see. I don't know if you guys didn't know that this show, from what I understand, is the most expensive show of all time, or cost to make of all time. It says here it cost them about $1 billion, but as far as I know, in terms of like added all together as of today, I think I've read that it cost them somewhere around $1.5 billion to create this show. So that's absolutely crazy, and I would just say you can absolutely see it in some parts of of some of the episode. It really is super beautiful in sections. Now, for me, it definitely dips in quality whenever it gets to some of the half-foots, which are like the pseudo hobbits of whatever this lore is. Although I will say, I'm not that adverse in like the old Silmarillion text and all that. So from what I understand, there are no hobbits or little half-foots creatures, whatever these are, in this world or in that time frame. So I believe there's a lot created just to have other things involved in this show. The show, from what I understand, takes a lot of liberties and definitely adds its own flavor and twist onto many things. And yes, from what I understand, the half-foots are that. But for me, again, a lot of the stuff that surrounds the half-foots and some of the human settlements, it can look cheap in parts, in my opinion. Now, one thing I didn't think about until after watching it, yes, it looks cheap and doesn't look amazing in terms of like compared to some of the CGI sections and some of the grandiose parts. But after thinking on it, I actually kind of appreciate that. I do appreciate their attempt at live recording. I don't know how to say that, but I like that they're at least attempting to blend in massive, crazy CGI along with real live action, costumes and real life sets and stuff like that. Like, I really appreciate that. Especially coming off of something like WandaVision, which I felt the same about that show, where like I appreciated that you get kind of used to watching things in modern, television and modern movies where everything's CGI, everything looks, looks fakeish. Even though it may look good, the eye can kind of tell whether something looks fake or real. And again, I appreciate that, similar to WandaVision, where I like that they're making an attempt to, again, set design, costumes, and all of that. I like that. So I would just say, I don't know, for me, again, I very much appreciate that aspect. And I don't know, how about you guys? How do you guys feel? I would love to hear down in the comments. Are you guys in that same mindset where you appreciate the effort put into trying to make some more live action-y stuff versus CGI? Or I don't know how people feel about that. But still, for me, the half-foots at this point don't seem to play a huge part, so I am kind of curious to see where exactly they're going with the the female half-foot, Nori, or I have her name here, Nori Brandyfoot, or she had another name, I don't know, but she's a Brandyfoot. Her name's Nori. I'm kind of curious to see where they go with her story. It definitely seems as though they're going kind of the Frodo direction, where she is very curious. Although I guess you couldn't say that. Frodo kind of, if it was up to Frodo, he would have just stayed in the Shire and never branched out, she's definitely, maybe I'll rephrase that. She's definitely more adventurous and more curious about the outside world than many other half-foots or hobbits or whatever creatures that are in that world. But that whole storyline with the half-foots to me was kind of so-so. It was just very introductory. Everything else, though, I would say Galadriel herself, in terms of getting to some of the actors, I actually really enjoyed. many of these actors. The girl that plays Galadriel was great. I actually really liked Elrond. I feel like they've done a pretty good job reenacting Elrond's kind of personality traits and how he acts and what some of his reactions to things would just generally be, which I really appreciate. Elrond was definitely like a light in terms of light of guidance in the original Lord of the Rings trilogy with Peter Jackson. He was definitely very wise. Not totally flawless. I mean, he definitely had his blind spots, which this character does, which I appreciate. But for the most part, he has his mind in the right place, which I very much appreciated. They have some really cool cameos in here. Like, you get to see Gil-galad, the High King of the Elves, which is pretty cool. You get a Celebrimbor reference, if any of you are huge deep lore fans. If you don't know Celebrimbor, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I don't have all my notes here. I have just a basic list. But Celebrimbor, from what I remember in the lore, he is he's an incredible blacksmith, and he is the creator essentially of the rings. Now, I don't know off the top of my head if he created all of the rings. I know he created the One Ring, basically, and I know he also was the main character of that video game. Those two games were the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. I know he plays like the ghost character that takes over. I can't remember that main character's name, but he's like a ghost entity, and he's like one of the main characters. So it's really cool to see Celebrimbor. Who else we had? We had Gil-galad, Elrond. You even get to see Sauron, which was super awesome. I loved seeing like an aspect of Morgoth and Sauron. Really cool. I liked all that stuff. One of the opening scenes is actually one of the major wars that takes place at the very beginning of I know it is a major war in the books in the Silmarillion, but that scene was really cool, where you get to see the two ancient trees kind of burning up and the whole war, which involves Galadriel's brother Finrod. He passes away, and I somehow is cursed by Sauron, so I'm kind of curious where that's going to go with her brother being cursed. He's dead, but there's a marking on his body, which I'm curious where that's going to go. I'm assuming where it may go is he may become a... I can't think of the name. I'm so bad at remembering. The Nazgul. He may become a Nazgul, but I thought the 9 Nazgul were all men, so I might be wrong about that. So maybe he'll come back and become some sort of dark entity that fights on Sauron's side. Now that I think about it, I don't think he could become a Nazgul, because I think those were the 9 men that were turned. But, yeah, all of that was really cool. Moving on, you also have the storyline surrounding this other elf. I don't think he's a high elf. I think he's like a wood elf of some sort. But his name's Arondir, that they call him. And he's got kind of a super interesting plot that's going on with some of these other humans. Human settlement of some sort that's going on. Where he kind of is a watchman of some sort of this area. And definitely what's going on within the kind of region is there's some sort of evil or plague or something that's kind of moving through the areas, kind of infecting everything. There's a scene with Elrond holding a leaf which looks infected. You can see animals that seem to be have some sort of black mass in their bodies. So it's kind of interesting to see how all of these characters are going to tie together. Definitely at the end of the episode, you see all of the characters watching this flame ball shoot from the sky and land, which gets discovered by Nori, and it turns out it ends up being a man, which is kind of cool, because once again, all these characters seem like they're kind of going to, kind of connect in some way, because you can see all of them looking at this thing. You see Nori, you see Elrond, you see Galadriel. Although I don't think Galadriel actually looks at it. But, I mean, you see Elrond see it. You see Arondir see it. So, it's very intriguing to see where this is all going to go. Another kind of interesting storyline or a plot element is going to be, who exactly is this guy that fell from the sky? Is he... I don't know who he could be. I mean, I want to say he might be Gandalf, but I don't think it's going to be Gandalf. I actually think I'm just remembering. I think I did read something a while ago that it's some sort of other character who may or may not be in the Silmarillion. I have no idea. But I don't know. It's some other new character. I don't know what part he's supposed to play in all of this. I would love for it to be Gandalf, but I don't know. Another thing I thought was interesting is I couldn't tell if that's what they were going for, but it seemed as though they were kind of pointing towards like a romance between Elrond and Galadriel. But he does also say that we're friends, so I'm not quite sure. Because I thought in the books and in the movies and the story, it was always kind of inferred that that Galadriel and Gandalf had a thing, but it never was really pointed at. I'd love from people who know the books, let me know down in the comments, is that a thing? I mean, that's just what I got from the movies and stuff, is that Galadriel and Gandalf they always had the little semblance of a romance or something hiding in the background, so I don't know. But yeah, I appreciated almost every scene. I also really liked the whole aspect of Galadriel kind of turning down, going into the... Oh, I can't remember the sun... What is it? The Sundering Seas? It's just... I don't know. Kind of going into... what is it? Valinor? Just going into the... I can never remember the name of it, but the area where... wherever the elves go, which is their heaven or their paradise, or they're getting away from MiddleEarth. I really like that scene of her kind of fighting within herself and turning that down, and returning back, wanting to kind of set things straight. I really like that aspect. So yeah, there's other plot elements that I'm very intrigued by. I mean, who is the guy that fell from the heavens? I'm really interested to see where Galadriel goes with still trying to find out what Sauron or what Morgoth or... Actually, no, it's got to be Sauron, because I believe Morgoth might be defeated at this point. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm curious to see anything Sauron, wise is something I'm definitely interested in. Trying to think of what other... I mean, that's really the two main plot points. What about this guy, and what about Sauron and Galadriel? Because I don't think the Half-Foot stuff was that interesting. The Arondir stuff... It's kind of interesting, but it's more just interesting to see how it all kind of combines, where it goes, and where does this guy that fell from the heavens kind of fit in with everything. But yeah, I guess that's kind of everything I had to say. There isn't really much I disliked. I mean, maybe there's a couple plot elements that aren't fantastic, but I would say the main kind of plot thread is pretty interesting. I'm very curious as to where they go with this. Once again, this is all from the perspective of somebody who isn't a deep lore person. I love the one trilogy of movies and the books. I'm not as in-depth knowledge-wise in terms of the Silmarillion or some of the Hobbit stuff, but I don't know. I'm interested. I watched episode 1. I'm getting ready to go right into episode 2, so please keep an eye out for that. Anyways, please do all that normal share, and subscribe stuff. I would really love to know down in the comments what you guys personally thought about episode 1. And as always, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Please do keep an eye out for episode 2. I will be putting that out soon. And adios. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you again on the next EnteR ChatZ MaN. Bye-bye. Hey now, I see you made it through the video and liked or even possibly loved it. Well, if you want to see any more additional content or you'd like to get into contact with me, consider checking out some of my social medias right here. And if you'd like to go above and beyond and want to support my channel monetarily, here is also a couple places where you can do so. And if nothing else, simply liking, sharing, and subscribing would make me the happiest ChazmaN on the planet.